Hello everyone, here are some interesting compilation videos for you to enjoy.
A man is running into the storm, disregarding the strong wind and torrential rain, as if he is trying to challenge nature itself. Suddenly, a powerful gust blows through, bending the trees and sweeping away everything around him, as if nothing is strong enough to resist the fury of the storm. In the midst of the surging floodwaters, a small house is swept away, disappearing into the angry torrent, as everything inside is submerged without mercy. Meanwhile, a rescue helicopter flies overhead, hastily heading toward the area in hopes of providing aid. But will it be able to reach in time to save what's already lost? Two boats are struggling to navigate the violent river, yet despite their best efforts, they get stuck in the fast-moving waters, repeatedly crashing into the bridge. The waves continue to rage as if trying to swallow everything in its path, leaving no escape. A truck, once a symbol of strength, is now swept away by the powerful floodwaters, powerless against nature's might. The truck becomes lodged under the bridge, an unfortunate victim of nature's relentless wrath, trapped beneath the structure, as though it, too, has become part of the devastation. The bridge, once sturdy and reliable, now crumbles under the weight of the raging floodwaters. It is swept away entirely, leaving only destruction in its wake, a vivid reminder of how fragile human constructions are in the face of nature's overwhelming power. Homes, once safe havens, are now submerged, with some being entirely swept away by the flood. The waters continue to rise, consuming everything in their path, and those who remain can only watch helplessly, unable to stop the inevitable destruction unfolding before them. Cars are trapped in the rising floodwaters on the highway, unable to move. People are forced to climb onto the roofs of their cars, hoping for a miracle. Meanwhile, others are being rescued from their submerged vehicles, as every second is a struggle for survival. The bridge, once a vital connection between two places, is now swept away by the floodwaters. The rushing waters show no mercy, consuming everything in their path, leaving only destruction behind as a stark reminder of nature's uncontrollable power. A car is swept away by the raging waters, its fate sealed as it disappears into the flood, like so many other things lost in nature's fury. The car is no longer a vehicle, but a helpless object carried along by the force of the current. A house is engulfed in flames amidst the flooded area, the fire burning fiercely while the water continues to rise around it. The destruction is heartbreaking, as nature's forces seem to clash against one another, adding to the sense of chaos and despair. The houses, once symbols of safety and warmth, are now submerged under floodwaters, many of them lost entirely. The few that remain are being overwhelmed by the rising tide, as the floodwaters continue to engulf everything, leaving no room for hope. The floodwaters surge quickly through the streets, sweeping away everything in their path. Roads, trees, and buildings, all are swallowed by the relentless force of nature, and nothing seems able to halt its devastation. The floodwaters rush through a street, consuming everything in their path. A horrifying scene unfolds as nature demonstrates its absolute power, leaving nothing standing in its wake. All that remains is the stark reality of nature's unstoppable force. A boat sails through the open sea, battling against towering waves and fierce winds. It is a lonely vessel, fighting the furious elements, with the waves crashing down on it, threatening to swallow it whole. Yet the boat presses on, fighting to stay afloat amid the chaos. Firefighters are working tirelessly to rescue people, undeterred by the dangers of the storm. They push forward into the eye of the chaos, hoping to save those stranded. But will their bravery be enough to overcome the wrath of nature? The floodwaters rush through the streets, sweeping away homes, vehicles, and anything else in their path. The relentless flow of water leaves no escape, and all that remains is devastation, as nature's wrath shows no signs of slowing down. An umbrella is caught in the raging floodwaters, unable to move, and despite the efforts to free it, the current continues to pull it under. It is a helpless object, powerless against the overwhelming force of nature's fury. A sandstorm sweeps through the area, engulfing everything in its path. The air is thick with dust, and visibility is reduced to nearly zero. The people caught in its grip can do nothing but wait, overwhelmed by the force of the storm as it wreaks havoc. A subway station is flooded, and people find refuge there, seeking shelter from the storm raging above. But in this moment of uncertainty, no one knows how long they will be trapped or if help will ever come. A small house sits amidst the rising floodwaters, slowly being consumed by the flood. The water rises and hope fades as nature claims yet another victim in its relentless path of destruction. A bridge, once a symbol of connection, is now swept away by the floodwaters. The structure is helpless against the force of nature, disappearing into the swirling currents below. It is yet another casualty of nature's devastating power. A motorcycle catches fire and burns in the midst of the floodwaters. The flames are fierce and the water adds to the chaos, creating a tragic scene of destruction. The motorcycle is no longer a vehicle, but a casualty of nature's fury. A snowstorm sweeps through, burying everything in a blanket of white. The world becomes a blur as snow falls relentlessly, leaving behind only a desolate landscape. In the cold silence, there is nothing but the stillness of nature as it asserts its dominance. The floodwaters continue to rise, sweeping across everything in their path. Roads, homes, and lives are lost in the torrent, and nature's fury shows no mercy. All that remains is a landscape devastated by the relentless force of water. The floodwaters consume everything, swallowing roads and homes without a trace. Nothing can stop the rising tide, and the destruction is total. The once familiar landscape is now unrecognizable, buried beneath a sea of water. Rescue helicopters fly overhead, but the situation below is dire. People are stranded in the floodwaters, and the storm continues to rage. Will help arrive in time, or will nature's power claim everything in its wake? A house is swept away by the floodwaters, disappearing into the current as if it never existed. The destruction is swift and complete, and nothing can prevent the waters from carrying it away. The flood is unstoppable, and everything in its path is doomed. People watch in awe and fear as the snowstorm intensifies. The world around them turns into a frozen landscape, and all they can do is stand by, powerless against the elements. The storm rages on, and no one knows when or if it will end. A man is seen surfing on a board, riding the waves in the midst of the storm. He bravely faces the fury of nature. But with each crashing wave, it becomes clear that he is fighting a losing battle against the relentless power of the ocean. A truck is swept away by the flood, disappearing into the surging waters. Its fate is sealed as it is carried along, and those nearby can do nothing but watch as it is lost to the current. The waters are all-consuming, and there is no escape. A bridge is once again swept away by the floodwaters, the concrete and steel unable to withstand the immense pressure. It is gone in an instant, and the devastation it leaves behind is a stark reminder of the destructive power of nature. Once a symbol of strength and durability, the bridge is now nothing more than debris in the raging river. The floodwaters show no mercy, and all that is left is a broken, helpless structure swept away by the flood. A car is trapped in the floodwaters, unable to move. It is no longer a vehicle, but a victim of the storm. A car is trapped in the floodwaters, unable to move. It is no longer a vehicle, but a victim of the storm, helplessly caught in the relentless surge of water. The water rises higher, swallowing the car whole, and all hope for escape fades as the current carries it away. The floodwaters continue to rise, consuming everything in their path. Houses, roads, and entire neighborhoods are submerged, leaving nothing behind but destruction. No one is spared from the devastating force of the flood as it sweeps across the land. A bridge that once connected communities is now nothing but debris scattered across the raging waters. The strength of the flood has reduced it to rubble, and the roadways it once connected are now impassable, leaving everyone stranded and cut off from the world. The floodwaters show no sign of receding. Entire streets are submerged, cars are trapped, and homes are completely wiped out. It is as if nature has unleashed its full fury, leaving no room for survival in the wake of its overwhelming power. A car is swept away in the flood, disappearing into the waters with only its tires and roof visible. The car, a once proud machine, is now a mere object of nature's wrath. The floodwater moves relentlessly, erasing everything in its path. A truck is seen swept away by the flood, its cargo spilling out into the water as it is carried away. The people nearby can only watch in helpless despair, as nothing can stop the unstoppable force of nature. The water continues its rampage, sweeping everything in its way. The bridge, once a vital lifeline, is now a distant memory, submerged beneath the surging waters. The flood has claimed it, reducing it to nothing more than debris that disappears beneath the water's surface. The flood has taken everything in its path, leaving behind only devastation. A boat continues to drift aimlessly, carried by the powerful current. It has no control, no direction, and its fate seems sealed as the waves push it further away from any hope of safety. The boat, like so many others, is at the mercy of the storm and the floodwaters that show no mercy. The floodwaters continue to rise as people desperately try to escape, but there is no safe place. The houses, the roads, and all the familiar landmarks are now submerged under the surging water. There is nowhere left to run, nowhere left to hide from the relentless forces of nature. Cars, trucks, and entire neighborhoods are washed away by the flood, leaving only a trail of destruction behind. The streets are unrecognizable, swallowed by the water, and the once bustling community is now a wasteland of wreckage. It is a grim reminder of nature's power to erase everything in its path. The storm continues to rage, with dark clouds overhead and the wind howling. The air is thick with the sense of danger, as the sky seems to be filled with the anger of the elements. The world around is caught in the grip of the storm, with no end in sight. The floodwaters rise higher, consuming everything that once stood. Buildings are reduced to rubble, and entire landscapes disappear beneath the waters. The devastation is total, and there seems to be no way to stop the destruction. Nature has claimed the land, leaving only a scene of absolute ruin. Finally, a car is seen being swept away by the flood, its tires no longer gripping the road, its engine powerless against the current. It disappears into the waters, swallowed by the flood as if it had never existed. The storm has taken everything, and there is nothing left but the silence of the aftermath.
Ooh.